So you guys have around 40 days left until your first exam. Biology is on the 10th of May. If you're at 4s and 5s right now, first of all, you want to be certain of what position you're in right now. So you should, with a flick of a wrist, you should be able to tell what grades you're expecting at this moment. So I know when I was taking my mock exams in year 11, I'll use that example again, because that's when I was in this position. When I was 1 month out from my mock exams, and this was during the COVID year, so these mock exams were probably going to be the most important mock exams anyone had ever done for GCSE, right? Because they could have just cancelled my actual exams, and they could have just used those mock exams, right? So I treated it like the real exam. We ended up having a real exam, so it wasn't a big deal. But when I was 1 month out from my mock exams, I knew that I was in a position where I could have gone into those exams and come out with 4s and 5s. And that was because I had tried some of these past papers for all of my subjects, and I was just scoring 4s and 5s. My maths, I probably got like a 5 or a 4 in the past papers I tried. Same with biochem, physics, all of that stuff, right? And hopefully at this position, you've at least tried 1 or 2, or you've got a pretty good predicted grade from your mocks, or your teachers are pretty much like explaining it to you that you're going to be getting whatever grade you're getting. You should have in the back of your mind some sort of idea of where you're at right now, whether that be straight 7s or straight 5s or straight 5s and 6s. You have to have an idea of where you're at, because that will give you, I mean, the way you prepare for the next 40 days will depend on that, alright? And I'm going to go off of the example that you're getting 4s and 5s at the moment. Hopefully this is useful for anyone that's getting anything higher than that. But the reason I'm doing that is because I think, and I actually did go from 4s and 5s to 8s and 9s, like I showed in the last video in my mock results. I can't be bothered to show them. I'll quickly pull up the actual results just to make it a bit more believable. Okay, I can't be bothered to open it up, but you can see, like, in here you got some of these which are all grade 9s, and if I go through them, they're all grade 9s apart from German, which I got a 7 in. But I'm not going to be teaching you how to do well in German. Anyway, let's go back to a smaller screen. Yeah, the fact is you can go from 4s and 5s straight to 7s, 8s and 9s. My mock results from year 11 were 8s and 9s, straight 8s and 9s. And I'm gonna pull up a schedule for you, right? First things first, like I showed you, you need to have a timeline, and you need to know where you're at. So what you want to do, start writing these out in an Excel spreadsheet. Just get really familiar with when your exams are going to be coming up. 10th of May, probably one of your first exams. You really want to be prepared for this one. What you want to start doing is going to the specifications, right? So pull up the AQA specification for biology, copy in all of these topics into the Excel sheet. I've got them 1 to 4, 5 to 8. This is not a topic, but I've got them in each position, and you want to be highlighting these, figuring out where your weakest point is. So I've done these in an example. Maybe I was pretty okay with 4 and 6, but the rest of these I'm pretty shit at, for example, and I've never really gotten anything above like 60-70% on a topic test. This is sort of where you want to be, and you want to do these for all your topics. English literature might be something to do with like the different themes that could come up, different characters that could come up, different question types that you're bad at, right? You want to be super diagnostic about this, and you want to know exactly where your weakest point is. Once you've sort of diagnosed yourself with this sort of method, right, that's when you have to get into actually studying. And you want to not spend too much time on this. Like, set a timer for an hour, get it all done. Don't waste too much time on this shit. Like I explained in last video, right? Some pretty shit drawings of Bloom's taxonomy, but what you get, right, is you want to be in this section called application. Basically, it means whenever you're studying, instead of trying to learn something from a textbook, trying to write notes or highlight stuff, you just want to go straight to applying it. The reason is because you got limited time. It's not the best way to do it. The best way would actually be to be somewhere around evaluate and create. That stuff is too complicated for the amount of time we've got left. So we'll just skip to application, and we'll sort of learn as we apply. And like I again drew in the diagram last video, if you've seen it or not, what you need first is you need a good content source. What you've probably done if you're watching this video and you're sort of stressing out is you haven't really listened in the lessons, you haven't really learned anything from the lessons or the teacher. Don't worry, I was the exact same all the way through year 13. It's fine, but what you'll need to do is you'll need a content source now, because you need somewhere to learn it from. So that could be a textbook, that could be a revision guide, could be YouTube videos. In my last video, I labeled out the best content sources for every one of my subjects that I got a 9 in. Yeah, go watch that if you need to. I'll go through them now anyway. And once you've got a good content source, which is basically where you're going to be getting your information from, where you're going to be learning these topics from, because if you're getting a 4 or a 5, I'll be completely honest with you, you don't know anything about the subject. You barely know anything about the subject. You could pick up a random dude off the street, ask him to take the exam, and he'd probably get 4 or a 5. That's just sort of the case, right? So there is loads of gaps in your knowledge that you will need a content source to use to sort of fill those gaps out. But what we're not going to do is just look at the textbook and take notes across the whole textbook and try and memorize the whole textbook, or look at your teacher's lesson PowerPoints and try and memorize all of those, because that's not going to work. Like I said here, we're going to just go straight to applying using the content source. And applying just means exam questions. So for an English exam, it would be essays, history, it would be essays, computer science would be practice questions, maths would be practice questions, sciences would be practice questions. Once you've applied it, you get the feedback. So you can either ask your teacher for feedback on your essay. You get feedback whenever you mark your answers, right? Any form of feedback, and then you go back in, use the content source, apply more. This is the loop that you want to be repeating over and over and over again. And so for the content sources, I've got 2 of them over here. For English, you want to use Mr. Sally's YouTube video, GCSE Maths Tutor for Maths. But I think it would be easier to just watch the previous video that I made. It goes a bit more in depth on how to use these. All I'm going to go through right now is the sciences. And for the content source for the sciences, it's just the mark scheme of these previous exams. So there's no point really watching any videos or going through any textbooks, in my opinion. The fact is, I mean, even if you don't really know anything, just learn straight off the mark scheme, because that will give you the most lean and most valuable input for output content basic. So you want one of these folders, one of these exam pro folders. You can find them on like Reddit or something like that. This will basically have, if I go into cell biology, this is topic 1. This is a list of documents that have got every single exam question since one of like the 1990 papers, right? And exam questions are always repeated, just in different contexts. So if you start to learn these mark schemes, what will start to happen is you'll actually get very used to these, how to lay these out, and these are the type of questions you're going to get asked in the actual exams. So again, just showing you some of these. Hopefully I don't get copyright striked from that, but you want to find one of these and you want to go through all of them, use them as your content source. Don't really need to even try them. I mean, you can try them with a textbook or something like that. How I did it, I'll show you. And this is, I would not recommend this, and I wouldn't actually do this now, because I think it's quite, first of all, risky. Second of all, I think there's a chance that you could like go into rote memorized, and you wouldn't really understand the sort of questions that are coming up. So it does come down to luck whether you understand these or not. You can try this method if you want. And I guess if someone was in the position 40 days out from an exam, I would probably just say this is probably the best thing to do. But I can't guarantee it'll work for you. Like I said, what I did here, just to explain it in short terms, is I made all of these questions into flashcards on Anki. Every single one of them and just made them into flashcards. I didn't look at the questions, I didn't try and answer them first, I didn't look at the textbook, I didn't do anything. I just made everything into a flashcard, and then I just kept going through them. So for example, if I show you one of these, okay, I don't think this is the right, yeah, this isn't the right deck, but what it would look like is it would be a picture of the exam question on the top, and then it would be the answers on the back. So I'll show you for my AS levels, because this is again exactly how I did it for my AS levels. So here it is, here's a picture of the exam question, and then you've got the flashcard here, so it's asking me what the answer to this one is, and you can see you start to memorize things that are just useless, right? For example, memorizing the answer of the rate of reaction for this specific question won't actually get me anywhere for the actual exam, but the reason why it's still there, oh sorry, this is just a second mark for this, yeah. Either way, the fact is you want to be looking at these questions and sort of understanding exactly how you would have answered this. And I only made, for example, this into a flashcard. I only made the last section of this into a flashcard because that's the one I kept getting wrong, I think. I'm not going to go through how to use Anki because I think that'll be too long. But yeah, you can see here I've made practically every exam question I can find into a flashcard. And you have to think a bit deeply about these flashcards. Don't just memorize them completely word for word. You sort of want to, as soon as you look at a flashcard, you want to try and understand why the mark scheme is listed the way it is. But yeah, this is probably the best layout you can have. You want to make all of these into flashcards topics, and these are just practice questions. And what will happen, if I can explain it quickly here, what will happen for the first section is you'll be just lost, right? You're going to be going through these flashcards, not really understanding what the hell is going on. You're going to be getting them all wrong, and you might not even be understanding what's going on, even when you start memorizing them. So once you're in this section where you're sort of confused, slowly, as you keep going through them more and more, you'll start to learn them, right? So you'll be less confused. You will maybe, for example, have memorized one of these lines that will come up often. So you can see here something like this, one of these mark schemes, which is basically giving you a 4-sentence answer to any question on microRNA and how it can be used, or how it remains in the body. Obviously this is an A-level topic, so you won't know this, but what you'll start to see is these repeated mark scheme patterns for specific question types, and you're just going to start to memorize these really key important information for different topics. And as you do them more and more and more, you get to a point where you sort of just linked all of these different topics together, and you really understand what the hell is going on and how to answer different question types, solely because you've just memorized so many different mark schemes. And yeah, that's sort of how I did it for my AS levels, how I did it for the end of my GCSEs. I do think there's a reason I moved away from it, is because there is a chance that if you don't think about it deeply enough, you could just end up memorizing words and not really understanding what the hell is going on. If you trust yourself to understand what's going on slowly but surely, I think it can get you to a good position. Fact is, it doesn't change that the best content source to use for these science papers is the mark scheme, and that's for computer science as well. Like I explained in the previous video, for my mock exam for computer science, I was getting like a 5 or a 4 in one of the papers. And what I did, there's only 5 past papers in computer science. For OCR, all I did was make them all into flashcards, just rinse through all of the flashcards. When I came to the actual 2019 paper that they gave us for our mock exam, which I'd never seen before, I got one of the highest in the year. The thing is, I did the exam, I didn't feel like I did that great. Figured out by the end of it, when I came out, when they gave me the paper, that I did actually do pretty well, and that was solely because of the way I was writing was just so similar to how the examiners write the mark schemes, and like the way I was thinking was so similar to how the examiners think about making a mark scheme. I was only listing out the points that could sort of give you a mark, and that's sort of how I got the highest in the year for computer science without really trying. I really didn't study at all apart from doing those past papers. over and over again because our flashcards basically had memorized all the previous past papers. What happened when I see new questions that are made by the same people is you sort of answer them in the same way, and you get a good grade. And that's sort of why I would recommend, if you've got not much time left, is just find a bank, for example, of questions like this Exam Pro one, make them all into flashcards, or find someone else who's already done them, made them into Anki flashcards, and just rinse through them. If you don't have time for that, again, you might want to go to Anki, go to a shared deck, look for Biology GCSE, something like this, and you want to look for someone on here who has got themselves a 9, right, or got themselves a really good grade. You want to make sure they've got a good chunky amount of flashcards here and they've got good ratings. So you can see here 16 ratings here, 2018, so it's a while ago, hopefully it's still up to date, but 218 notes for all of biology. I'm not sure if that's enough, but it's worth a shot. What you want to look here is, what does he say about it, right? There's not really much description here. Let's have a look at what he's done some of the ones as well. Not bad. These are pretty decent as well. These guys have said very good, but I'm not really seeing anything interesting in the reviews. Some of these are decent. I'm not sure I would bank on someone else's flashcards. I know for my GCSEs I did. It's just kind of hard to remember because I know I switched up a bit during my actual AS levels. So I think this is definitely someone else's flashcard system. Then if you want to follow exactly what I did, because my study method wasn't completely fleshed out by then, what I did was find a bank, so Anki bank, flashcards. So I used one of these. I can't remember which one. It might have been this fat one of 700. And you can see there's some missing stuff from here as well. Got some bad reviews as well. But it was one of these banks, right? And that's how I learned everything. That's how I learned all the content, because the content isn't that in depth, right? That's how I learned all of this pretty surface level stuff. While I was doing that, I would just do the practice questions myself, I think, by hand, and just mark them. And it's the same method, right? What you're doing is, again, a good content source, applying it, and then getting some feedback, and then continuing on. You want to sort of choose whichever one you want to do. I think the best way is to just go straight to practice questions and just keep doing them over and over again in a flashcard format. If you don't want to do it flashcard format, just keep doing them over and over again. An iPad, keep trying them. Have a list again. What I can probably guarantee you, right, is if you find a folder like this and you've completed all of these questions twice, okay, if you completed them, all of them twice, you will get an 8, in my opinion. I think that's sort of how you get it, and sort of how it will be. 3 times might be even better. And this is, again, not a great way to study, but if you've only got 40 days and you don't really have a study system, you don't have time to build one out, you sort of want to resort to one of these options. So for the study timetable, I'm just using biology for this example. What you want to do, stick to cell biology for first. Find a bank of questions. So this one, or you can use a physics and maths tutor bank, and that doesn't have as many as an actual Exam Pro bank would. But you want to find this. This is cell biology. This is every single question that they've ever had on cell biology. These are pretty big documents. So this will take a long time to get through, but that should be where you're focusing your efforts. Get through this once, twice, 3 times. You'll get to a point, right, where you'll be able to quite confidently put this as green, because you'll feel like I really understand cell biology. I've seen so many mark schemes for so many questions. I know exactly what type of questions are coming up. If they ask me about cell biology in the actual exam, it's probably going to be something similar, and I'll be able to answer it. You do that, move on to the next topic, right? Maybe you get it only to orange because you're running out of time. Again, move on to the next topic. Try and get these all orange, and try and get these or at least light green, and that's what happened to me. I didn't feel like I could put all of them as green by the end of my exams, but something like that would be good. Take some exam papers after that, and when you're at orange or green, take some exam papers, see what you're scoring. The 2016 paper, see what you get. If you're getting like a 7, then you're in a good position. 2018 paper, again, you want to get to a point where you're getting 7s and 8s. An 8 is a good position to be in. Yeah, hopefully this is making sense. I know I'm circling back a lot because I don't really script these videos out. But what else did I want to say? Yeah, the main thing is get to a point where you're comfortable. First of all, take a benchmark paper, get to a point where you're comfortable, for example, getting these all to green. And then what you want to do is you want to have a lead up. So you want to have an exam lead up. For example, let me move this over. Exam lead up is pretty important because I've gone from, again, in my A levels, I've gone from getting like a B or a low B to high C in my A levels to scoring high A's in my papers, just by doing a lead up system where I sort of just spam actual genuine exam condition past papers. So what I do, for example, for bio paper 1 is, I think there's 2016, there's 17, there's 18, 19, 20, 21 and 22, and if you can find 23, that would be good for you. But this is sort of how I'd list them out. This is a week before. You want to be doing 1 each day. If you can start a bit earlier, that's fine. What I'd probably do is I'd move these out to like sometime in April. So 16, 17 and 18, I'd move them sometime into April. And you want to be getting like, using them as benchmarks until you can get to a point where you're getting like an 8 on the 2018 paper. And then have like a bank ready for the exam lead up that you'll just do every single day, or every other day. And like I said here, you want to be doing these and getting your feedback on it. So the most important part of an exam paper is getting the feedback on it. So you have to do it, mark it, go through it. I'll give you one extra tip before you do that as well, just to really enhance like how much you're getting out of each question. What you want to do, for example, when you do an exam paper, before you go through and mark it, if you have the time, you want to go through and mark it yourself. Okay, so you want to do, for example, Q1, Q2, Q3. You want to go through and say, I think I got this right, I think I got this wrong, I think I got this right, I think I got this wrong, etc. And if you think you got something wrong, you want to pull out your content source, textbook, mark scheme, whatever you think will help you, and you want to try and write a model answer. Do that for the whole paper, go through it once, and then you can go and actually mark it. What you'll have after this is you're gonna have a extra information here, right? This extra step, it gives you some more information. The information it gives you is, for example, if you're making a silly mistake or if you have a knowledge gap, right? So if you think you got something right and you actually got it wrong, that means you have a knowledge gap. In essence, it's actually even worse than a knowledge gap because you think you know something when you actually don't. You really have to flag this up, highlight it red in your thing here, in your Excel spreadsheet. Like this is like a red flag, right? If you're thinking you're getting something wrong, right, and you get it wrong. Obviously, because things are like 3 markers, 2 markers, it's a bit different. What you want to do is like just guesstimate how many marks you think you got on that answer. Guesstimate if you're fully confident with it, maybe you're partially confident with it, stuff like that. That's sort of like the big red flag. If you got something wrong, if you think you got something wrong and then you manage to fix it in the model answer and then you got it right, then that's not too bad. Mark here like an orange, that topic should be marked orange. What you want to say is like, okay, this is a knowledge gap, but I know where to find the information. I just need to make sure I understand it a bit deeper. Next time I won't make the same mistake, right? You want to encode that information into your brain. Try and link it to other topics. Try and understand how it matches in and why maybe you didn't understand it the first time, etc. If you got it wrong, you did a model answer and then you still got it wrong, which is going to happen very often. It's happened to me super often, and it's actually really annoying. And this is a massive red flag, because what you're doing here is either your content source is wrong, you're not understanding the content source. I don't know, like maybe you even understand the topic to some extent, you're just not able to get the right pinpoint mark points. And that's why it's super important for these ones. You sort of want to, you could even just go and memorize the mark scheme for something like this where you got it wrong, and just put it into a flashcard, make sure you memorize it and really understand exactly why those 4 points were needed to get those 4 marks, for example. But again, it's this extra step can give you loads and loads of different information on where you're struggling. But to round it all off, hopefully I can round this all off. And I'm only using one subject as an example here, so it gets really messy when you're doing this with loads of different subjects. But I don't know if I can really help with that time management info. Anyway, you want to start off with a paper. Start off with the 2016 paper. Get yourself a grade. You might have already done this before. If you know this section, then that's not fine. Maybe you got a grade 5, okay? What you want to do from there is you need to have a plan, okay? So, like we did here, you need to plan, and just to sort of give a mini description of what that is. That means good content source. That means applying it and then getting feedback. And this is like the main step. This is called studying, and this is where you're going to spend most of your time. But every now and then, when you're feeling a bit more comfortable after you've studied a lot and you've maybe moved something up to like an orange or a red on here, what you want to do is try another paper. For example, 2017 paper, and then maybe you come out with like a 6, and you might think, oh, it's only a bit higher, it's not that great. I mean, the fact is, if you're getting a 6 in one of these papers, you're likely to get a 6 in the real exam. So that 1 grade improvement is everything, and you're looking for that, okay? That's what you're looking for. With revision, all you can aim for is to get a 9 in the past paper. You can't really aim to get a 9 in the actual paper. You don't really know what's going to come up, right? I mean, it doesn't really make sense what I said there, but you're looking for the you're not looking for the outcome. You're just looking to get to a point where you can be safe in your outcome. So, like I said, if you get to and you do a 2023 paper and you get a 9, you can go into that exam without any exam nerves, and I can guarantee you'll at least get an 8. Even if you have a bad day, you'll at least get an 8. That's how these exam papers are made. You can't accidentally get a 9 unless you cheat in your past papers. So just be honest with yourself with these past papers as your diagnosis, and then you'll know what to expect on exam day. And you won't even have exam nerves when you're opening your results, because you'll just know that this is what you're going to be getting. Like I said, plan, do that studying, test yourself, slowly go up, lead up to exam week, have whatever schedule you want. What I like to do is like 2 or 3 past papers a day. So I'm in like exam mode, so lead up to the first exam, 10th May. Probably from the start of May, I'd probably do 2 or 3 exam papers a day. That was A-level exam papers, so these are much longer. Your GCSE ones are probably shorter, so you can probably stack up like 4 to 5 papers each day. Obviously, after you do a paper, take a bit of a breather, and then go and look at the things you got wrong and stuff, like I explained here. and just use that loop, right? Use that loop over and over again. And if you need to know how to do, I mean, this is exactly how you do it for your sciences and your computer science and your other thing that is like just practice question involved. If you need to understand how to sort of apply that to English, maths, history, or RS, just watch the previous video. It's very similar. All that's different is a good content source. So the content source I use is different. Maths is actually even easier to get a 9 in my opinion, at least an 8. I got stuck at an 8 for a really long time. But maths is really easy. There's literally like 2 videos from this channel that go through like every topic and like every question type that could come up. And all I did was just do those videos over and over again until I was comfortable, and then I tried the practice papers. Same thing for English. Do these videos over and over again, comfortable with the practice papers. And you can see, as you're sort of rounding all of this off, you can sort of understand like the methodology I'm going for here, right? It's you're looking for linear. You're looking for something that is easy to understand, right? You're looking for a straightforward path. So I think the reason why most of you, for example, 40 days out won't be able to get 9 is because you don't know what you're doing. You're sort of doing a practice paper, then you're doing some notes, then you're highlighting the textbook, then you're doing something else. Maybe your teacher said you should be doing these sheets that he's given you, etc., etc., and you sort of just spin around until you end up somewhere random, right? I'm giving you here is a linear method, right? And it might not be the same for you because you might not be doing the same exam board as me. You might have to find a different linear method. But the fact is, you want to find something that is linear, that you can just know, that you can follow, and if you follow and complete all of it, you'll get the grade you want. And that's why it's important. Obviously, once you figure that out, all you have to do is schedule it into your time board and stick to that schedule. I'll tell you now, when you're scheduling something like this and you're trying to fit in all of these papers in time, you're going to miss some days, you're going to make some mistakes. Like even for my A-levels, I scheduled in all of these papers and I tried to make sure I finished every single past paper before I had my exams, and I didn't manage to. Now and then, like I just couldn't be asked and didn't do the paper that I was supposed to do. Yeah, this is what you want to be doing, alright? This is what you want to get. You want to get a straight line, good content and an application that will get you to the position you want to be, and then you just want to use the papers as diagnostic tools, and obviously you want to make sure you've completed all of them as well. And enough rambling from me. I think I've talked enough there. Straight line for the sciences is just doing all of these practice questions in the bank. So you can use PMT, you can use Maths Made Easy. Any bank you can find. I think the best bank, if you're taking AQA, is just going straight to the source, which is this thing called Exam Pro, which your teachers have. If you can find a folder that has all of those papers, use that as your bank. For maths, like I said, there's these videos that will do it for you. For English, again, there's these videos that will do it for you. RS and history, I've explained all of that as well. If you're struggling with finding a bank, watch the previous video, and if you just want to understand it a bit more, again, watch the previous video. But hopefully that makes sense for you guys. Out a timetable, get your papers ready. If you've got your plan, start executing, and then that's all there is to it.